Interviews can be stressful for everyone, but for our neurodivergent teens and young adults, there are hidden layers below the surface that can add complexity and challenge that makes interviews very stressful. In this episode, we'll talk about how you can support your teens through the interview process. Hey, I'm Crystal Wagner. I'm a life and parenting coach, and I'm a late diagnosed autistic ADHD mom raising two young adult neurodivergent daughters. And I help moms launch their neurodivergent teens into adulthood. Interviews are conversations, which can be challenging to start with for neurodivergent individuals, but they also pull on additional skills at the same time. There's a social aspect. What's expected of you? What are you supposed to wear? Sensory issues that you're in a new environment. If it's not a virtual interview over Zoom, you may be in a physical location that you've never been to before that might be loud, overwhelming, hot, cold, you name it. There's the executive function aspects of preparing for the interview, getting to the interview, doing the follow-up, and then the emotional regulation that's required as you engage with the interviewer, as you prepare for that and deal with the anxiety and stress that can come with it, as you process what happens afterwards, and whether it went well, whether it was poor, and how you're feeling about that. This combination creates a unique challenge for individuals who are neurodivergent and trying to juggle all of this at once. So how can you help your teen to show up, be confident, feel prepared, and shine and really show who they are and what value they bring to the organization with which they're interviewing? Let's look at the different aspects that can make interviews challenging and what you can do to support them. First, let's talk about the sensory aspect. For me, that can be the first thing that I think about. What is the situation going to be like? Are we on Zoom and I can control my side of the environment? Or are we in person and I have no idea what the room is going to be like? Is it going to be hot or cold? Will the lights be bright? Will the noise be too loud? So talk about these things ahead of time. What is it that tends to trigger your teen or young adult into having sensory overload issues? Do they need to make sure that they put their attenuation filters in before they enter the room? Do they need to have a low sensory environment for the few hours or the day leading up to the interview so that their nervous system is already calm and can handle the extra inputs if that is a problem for them? Also, they may want to plan their clothes carefully. Find out what the dress code expectation is, and if it's business casual, business professional. Do they have clothes that fit that style that are comfortable? Can they feel confident? Are they going to be wearing something that's itchy or has tags or feels too long, too short, whatever the case may be? Do they feel comfortable and confident in what they're wearing? If not, you may want to go shopping ahead of time and find the clothes that will help them to feel their best and try to mitigate some of the sensory issues that can come about from the clothes so that that's one less thing that they have to worry about. Next, let's talk about the executive functioning. This can be a challenge because they may need to write emails or make telephone calls ahead of time or after the fact. And sometimes this can be overwhelming just for the fact of this is a new skill and they're not really sure what to say. They're overthinking and they're afraid they're going to say the wrong thing and maybe they don't know what the expectation is. So offer to work with them, support them. I have often sat down with my daughters and said, let's write this email. You are the one writing it, but I'm happy to help. Where are you feeling stuck? Do you know what you need to say? And if they don't, I might provide some prompts. Well, what's the purpose of this email? What are you trying to communicate? If you were to just have that conversation with me, what would you want to say about what you're trying to send? So walk them through the process with questions. And if they're really stuck, you might say, would you like for me to suggest some wording? At which point you could offer something for them to write. They may want to use that word for word. They may want to tweak it and make it their own. We've had both situations where sometimes my daughters are overwhelmed and they're like, yes, let's just write that down. Other times they take what I've said and they put it into their words, which is a much better option, obviously, because it sounds like them whenever the interviewer talks to them in person. But it helps them to get a starting point. They're not starting from a blank slate. They can say, oh, yeah, okay, I see what I need to write. The way I would say it is this. Sometimes we've practiced. Maybe they need to make a phone call and they're not sure what to say. They aren't even sure what they need to be asking. And so we'll role play ahead of time. Sometimes we'll just talk through it. Sometimes we'll actually practice. It's kind of dependent on their age and what they were needing at the time. But both of those things can help them to feel more prepared as they go into the interview. Also, they need to think through the timing of the day. They need to figure out how long they need to get dressed, how long they need to allow for the travel time if they're going to be in person. Think through the things they need to either take with them or have next to them so that they are ready for that interview. And that can be a tripping block for some teens if they have challenges with that aspect of their executive function. So maybe talk through the situation and walk them through the day, walk them through the timing. Okay, what needs to happen next? What's going to happen after that? And if they miss a step, you could gently say, well, what about, and insert that step and say, does that need to be factored in? Still let them be in charge. That's what we've been talking about on all the previous episodes so far. We need to help set them up for success. We're here to support them. We're not here to drive the process. But sometimes there are times that we recognize, based on our past experience, that they need to think about something else. They need to add a little more time. They need to add this extra step. But it's always an offer. Offer it with open hands and say, hey, what about this? Do we need to consider this? Then think through their timing, and if it sounds reasonable, let them do that. Maybe even suggest, hey, what if you had some buffer in just to be safe in case something unexpected happens? And then after the interview, they will want to send thank you notes or a thank you email. And again, that can be a challenge to just sit down and do it. So maybe offer a time that you could go get a coffee together. My daughter and I will often do parallel work or body doubling through FaceTime. And so we'll just hop on FaceTime together. I'll be doing my thing. She'll be working on her projects. And when she gets stuck, I'm right there and she can say, hey, this is not going well. I don't know what to say next. And I can jump in with her. Other times I have done the same thing, been a body double for her, but she wanted more direct involvement. And I could ask if it seemed like she was stalling out or not making progress, like, how you doing? Are you making progress? Are you feeling stuck? And that allowed us to have that conversation where I could support her where she needed it, but she was still driving the process. Interviews also create a significant cognitive load on our teens and young adults. Some of the ways that we can help them mitigate that would be through mock interview situations. You could find a way for them to actually go through a mock interview. My daughter's engaged in that through a local program that we have, and they got to prepare their resume. They got to go into an interview situation. They weren't really interviewing for anything, but they got to be interviewed as if they were applying for a job or a college scholarship or an entrance into a program. It gave them the opportunity to practice, to feel more confident, to realize this is not going to be as bad as I'm making it out to be. So you might look around and see if you can find an opportunity for that. And if not, maybe just see if one of your friends will offer to do a mock interview with your teen. Somebody that's not family, not super close, but someone that they're comfortable with, and allow them to practice. You might also work on some phrases that they can use whenever the cognitive load feels too much. They start to get anxious and tense up, just to give themselves a moment to take a deep breath and to think and process what they want to say. Recently, my daughter had interviews for an internship, and she used several phrases that gave her a few moments that she could collect her thoughts. She would sometimes say, "That's a great question. Could I have a moment to collect my thoughts?" Just very simple, stated the obvious of what she needed. Other times she would say, let me think about that. So work on some phrases that feel comfortable for your teen that they could use just to create some of that buffer into the interview time. They don't have to have an immediate response. The interviewer actually told my daughter that he was pleased with her thoughtful answers and how she thought for a moment to come up with what she really wanted to say. Finally, we have some social aspects that might be helpful to address as your team prepares for an interview. Talk through what it's going to be like. Will there be masking fatigue? Is eye contact difficult for them? Do they have a problem sitting still? Do they not show or show too many facial expressions? What is it that they feel like is going to trip them up? And then how can you help them mitigate that or feel comfortable about it? Do they have maybe a small fidget toy that they could take in? I have several that are small enough they fit into the palm of my hand, and you can see it, but it's not obvious. It's not distracting. So see if they would feel comfortable with that. That's a lot easier when you're on Zoom because you can keep things out of the camera view. And if they're in person, they can still have something small they're holding. They could hold a pen or a pencil, something that allows them some tactile stimulation. Whatever it is they need to feel comfortable, see how you could incorporate that. I mentioned this earlier, but create a buffer around the interview time. Maybe they need some extra time to prepare or extra time to decompress. If they have that flexibility in their schedule, see how you can incorporate that so that their nervous system is not already on overdrive before they get to the interview. And then if it's appropriate, maybe even just ask upfront about accommodations that your child might need. Have them talk to the interviewer at the very beginning and say something like, I'm holding this fidget toy. It helps me to focus a little better. Or it might be, sometimes when I'm thinking, I need to look away to gather my thoughts. If I do that, I'm not disrespecting you. I am trying to gather my thoughts and give you a thoughtful answer. Think through the things that would help your child feel comfortable, feel confident, and then how can they politely and respectfully bring that into the interview. Finally, let's talk about your role in the interview process. Ultimately, this is your teen's interview, not yours. You have to let them fly. And I say that knowing that there is a range of abilities and capabilities with our children. As much as possible, let them take the lead. Let them be the ones who are shining in the interview. If you feel like you absolutely have to be present, maybe talk through this with your spouse, a trusted friend, somebody that you could bounce that off of and say, knowing my child, do you think they would be okay on their own? And if not, approach that with the interviewer so they know upfront why you're there. Otherwise, let your child go to the interview, let them shine, let them show the interviewer who they are and what makes them amazing. Your role is to support them. And most of that support will come in the lead up and after the interview happens. One of the best ways that you can help them is to anticipate where they may get stuck. And we've mentioned a couple of ways that can happen already in this episode, but you may have some other ways that come to mind because you know your child, you know where they tend to get stuck. And then ask them if they would like help. I always try to offer, do you want my help in this? What is my role? What do you want me to do? So that they have the choice and they can say yes or no. They usually say yes, but occasionally they say, you know what? I've got this. I've had a similar experience. I think I feel good. And then I can just back away and let them do their thing. Also, remember after the interview, if they feel a little disappointed, let them experience that. Give them some space to process the emotions. They may need to feel all the feels, as they say, and just let it work through their system before they're even ready to talk about it, process it. They may not even want to talk about it with you, and that's okay too, but offer the space if it's helpful for them. Finally, celebrate the effort. Focus on what they're doing well, not on the outcome. They will have more rejections than they have acceptances. That's normal. That happens to everybody. So help them to recognize that and to start thinking about that, you know what? I put forth my best effort. This interview went really well. I didn't get the job. I didn't get the scholarship. I didn't get the opportunity. That's okay. That's not the point. The point is that they showed up. They were their authentic selves. They put forth the effort that they felt was appropriate, and let's celebrate that with them. As we wrap up, I hope you're taking away from this that there are a lot of ways that you can support your neurodivergent teen. There are ways that you can provide additional tools, you can provide opportunities to practice. Know your teen and think about what they might need. Where might they be getting stuck so that you can help them feel prepared and feel confident. If you want some more tips and practical ways that you can support your teen, I have a resource about helping your teens through the interview process that I put together with a friend of mine who's a college and career counselor. And it lays out the process that colleges are looking for. It talks about what interviewers are looking for and what you can do to support them. I'll leave a link in the show notes so that you can download that if that would be helpful for you. As always, I hope you will subscribe, rate, and review this so other parents can find the podcast. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.